Hello everyone and welcome! The Noxian armies are based around two things: might and loyalty. But few soldiers believe that those with great might should be loyal to no one but themselves. Today we are going to talk about one such a soldier and his trusty steed. The stories about Kled go back to the very foundation of Noxus. The earliest story is known as the Battle of Drune. Here, the first Noxian legion was on the run from a barbarian horde. They lost the two previous battles, so their morale wasn't high. They were forced to abandon their supplies, and the nearest outpost was weeks away. The commanders of this legion were wealthy nobles wearing shiny golden armor. Although they were trained in assassination and tournament fighting, they had no idea what to do on the battlefield. With the remains of their army surrounded by enemy forces, the nobles ordered the legion into defensive circle in hopes of negotiation. Then, as the morning sun rose, Kled appeared on the horizon, overlooking the battlefield. He rode Skarl, an immortal desert Darkolops. "I'll give you one chance to get off my land," Kled announced to the barbarian horde, but he didn't wait for their answer and charged at them anyway. Desperate, starving and furious with the nobles, the legion's soldiers charged after Kled into the enemy formation. What followed was the bloodiest melee the legion had ever fought. The initial success was crushed when the barbarians' reserve forces smashed into the legion's flanks. With the battle turning against the Noxians and the enemy attacking from every side, Skarl panicked, threw Kled and abandoned the fight. And with Skarl, the Noxian soldiers ran as well. But at the center, Kled fought on, chopping down foes, kicking out teeth and biting faces. He was willing to die before backing down. The soldiers noticed Kled's determination, and after a while longer, they decided to rejoin the fight and help him. Even Skarl stopped running and turned to watch the legion's last stand. When the Noxian line was breaking and the enemy managed to knock Kled to the ground, Skarl triumphantly returned and crashed into the barbarian's rear. Snarling and clawing, it was able to free its master, and together they unleashed a whirlwind of death and forced the barbarians to run. Though only few Noxian soldiers survived, that day the lands of Drune were added to the empire. The bodies of the nobles and their golden armor were never found. In time, most of Empire's other legions acquired similar stories about Kled. Most Noxians find these stories questionable at best, but in the legion's wake, signs can always be found proclaiming each new territory property of Kled. The second story we know about takes place in the northern steppes. This region is nothing but barbarian raiders, poison grass and harsh winds. To survive, as Kled says, you gotta eat rocks and grab lava. Kled is tough enough to survive here, but he is still nothing on Skarl. Darkolops have their scales stronger than any steel. A sword could easily shatter against their legs. It was a normal day of Kled shouting at Skarl for being lazy, but it all changed when Kled went on a patrol. As Kled reached the hills, he met a snake he wanted to talk to, except it wasn't a snake but a shadow of a rock. "Damn shame," Kled said to himself as he had a lot to say to that snake. He was about to take a swig of his mushroom juice and explain his views to the snake, but then he heard them. He heard howling in the distance, indicating that humans have stepped into his territory. He scrambled up to a nearby rock and checked north first. Nothing but green lands there, so he turned south. There he saw humans walking a herd of Elmarks, a kind of local farm animals. A pack of howling drakehounds circled around them. "Get up, lizard," Kled said as he grabbed his saddle. Skarl raised its head and then returned to lying in the cool grass. "Get up, get up, get up!" he yelled. "There's trespassers invading the peaceful serenity of our environs." It looked at him blankly. Sometimes Kled forgets she doesn't understand him at all. "There's humans on our land." Suddenly, it stands up and its ears perk up nervously. Humans, that word it knows. "Let's get those humans!" Kled roared as he jumped into the saddle, and the beast immediately started going north. "No, no, no, that's the way, that way!" he said and pulled Scarl back in the right direction. She picked up speed insanely fast and Kled was forced to close his eyes. What was supposed to be days of walking was now over in the matter of seconds. The sun was just starting to dip below the horizon when they reached the human campsite. "Hold, stranger! Show your hands before you approach," a human in a red hat said. He seemed to be their leader. Kled slowly took his hands off the reins, but instead of putting them up, he grabbed his axe. "I don't think you understand me, old-timer," the human in the red hat said again. His fellows readied their weapons. Scarl growled, ready to leave already. "I got it under control," Kled said. "I ain't impressed with your fancy city folk weapons. Now I'm giving you one warning. Get off my land or else..." "Or else what?" a younger human asked. "You boys best know who you're dealing with," Kled said. "This is Scarl, she's a Darklops, and I am Kled, Lord Major Admiral of the 2nd Legion's Forward Artillery, Cavalry Multiplication." Several of the humans started snickering. "And what makes you think this is your land?" asked the human in the red hat, smirking. "It's mine, I took it from them barbarians. It's property of Lord Vakul. He was granted it by High Command. It's his by rightful dispensation." "Well, High Command, why didn't you say so?" Kled said before spitting on the ground. "The only law a true Noxian respects is strength. He can have it, if he can take it from me. You and your pony best be moving on while you still can." That was it. "Charge!" Kled screamed as they rushed into the campsite. The humans fired first volley of crossbow bolts. Scarl raised her ears like a giant bronze shield and deflected every shot. They kept riding forward straight at the leader while chopping everything in their way. They turned 2 soldiers into confetti, but the leader was quick and ducked under his blade. Another volley of shots hit them. Scarl screamed in fear. She was unkillable and immortal, but she was easily spooked. They easily killed the rest of the soldiers, but the red hat is a tough one. Even when Kled managed to hit him, he didn't even scratch his thick armor. Suddenly, Ballista fired a giant bolt and knocked Kled off his steed. Scarl wasn't hurt, but she fled anyway. "You ungrateful bastard! We had the Fasagims in the Riserbutts!" He wanted to scream more insults, but his words started to trip over themselves. He rolled back to his feet and noticed another 100 fully armored warriors marching at him. "You ain't nothing but darn sneaky sneak!" he screamed. "You don't look like much," the man said. "But I guess you're the one who's been giving Lord Vakul's ranch so much trouble. Vakul ain't no real Noxian. Your lordship can kiss my lizard-puckered mudflap. Maybe I'll let you end your days in Lord Vakul's fighting pits, if you can learn to keep your mouth shut. I'm going to rip your lips off and use them to wipe my butt," Kled roared. The army behind him suddenly started running at him, and even the leader leapt forward. His blade was ready to strike the killing blow, but the man didn't expect Kled's hidden shotgun. One shot sent him to the ground and knocked Kled back too. The army's soldiers, known as the Bloodrunners, started closing fast and Kled was ready to make his final stand. The first line attacked, and Kled carved few of them apart. But he took few hits as well, and he started losing blood quickly. The second line arrived, known as the Iron Warriors. They split into two groups and began their pinching maneuver. They were about to crush Kled flatter than a Noxian coin. But all hope was not lost as the loyal and honorable Skarl approached from the distance. Just as the two walls of warriors were about to close, Kled leapt into the saddle and they rushed to get rid of the ballista that knocked him down. "It's been a while since we took on a whole army together," he said. Skarl screeched happily. "Back at you, buddy." And that is where the second story ends. So even though Kled and Skarl may be partially legends, they really do exist and they do roam around the Noxian legions. As far as I know, he is the only Yordle that was accepted into the Noxian ranks, and I wonder if there will be more. But for now, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, you can always rate it however you want. The social media is there and everything is in the description, and as always, thank you again. So I was expecting Kled's story to be a bit longer, but don't worry, I can still make more lore because there are still a lot of champions that I haven't talked about actually. And a lot of them are Noxians actually, so I can just keep it going. And maybe after Noxus there'll be Demacia, who knows? I mean, you can tell me, I'm always listening to your feedback. But until the next one, see you!